Lieutenant Aris Thorne of the United Terran Exploratory Service stared at the personnel file on his terminal, the words blurring into a meaningless haze of standard script and translated phonetic approximations. His new partner's name was Kayla. She was of Rin. Her file listed her as a xenobotanist and cultural liaison of exemplary skill. It did not mention mating seasons. Their first meeting was in the gleaming, sterile docking bay of the deep space outpost Orion's Reach. Kayla was tall, willowy, with skin the color of twilight moss and a cascade of fine, fiber optic-like filaments where a human might have hair. They shimmered with faint, shifting hues. Her eyes were large, pupil-less pools of mercury. She was, by any objective measure, strikingly elegant. "Lieutenant Thorne," she said, her voice a melodic chime produced by a small vocoder on her slender neck. "I am eager to collaborate. Your service record is impressive." "Just Aris," he said, shaking the four-fingered cool hand she offered. "Welcome aboard. The Peregrine is small, but she's got heart." The Peregrine was their assigned scout vessel, a two-person craft for surveying uncharted botanical wonders. For the first week, everything was textbook perfection. Kayla was brilliant, her knowledge of xenoflora encyclopedic. She could identify symbiotic spore clusters from orbit and discuss Terran soil chemistry with ease. She was reserved, polite, and her filaments usually pulsed a calm, steady blue-green. The first change was subtle. A scent in the recycled air of the ship, not unpleasant, reminiscent of ozone after a rain and sun-warmed stone. Kayla's movements became slightly less economical, a faint, graceful sway as she worked at her console. Her filaments began to show delicate streaks of gold. "Is your environmental system suit functioning properly, Kayla?" Aris asked one evening, looking up from his navigation charts. "It is optimal," she chimed, not turning from her viewport. "The nebula in this sector is particularly radiant." "It is. Stimulating." Aris nodded, filing it under alien aesthetic appreciation, and thought nothing more of it. He was wrong. The gold in her filaments spread, becoming a persistent, shimmering highlight. The scent grew stronger, more complex. It seemed to cling to the ventilation system, a persistent, earthy perfume. Kayla's renowned focus began to fray. During a routine scan of a fungal plateau, she drifted into a minute-long reverie, simply staring at the swirling violet and orange patterns on the planetary display. "Data is nominal." Aris prompted gently. She started, her filaments flashing a brief, embarrassed pink. "Forgive me." The reproductive patterns of this fungus are fascinatingly complex. 2 days later, the Peregrine was collecting atmospheric samples from a gas giant's ring system when things escalated. Aris was in the pilot's chair, maneuvering through a field of icy particulates. Kayla was supposed to be monitoring the collector array. Instead, he felt her presence close behind him. "The energy signatures here are remarkable," she murmured, her chime voice lower than usual. She leaned over his shoulder, pointing a slender finger at the scanner. Her arm brushed against his shoulder. The scent of rain and stone was overwhelming, and her filaments, now shimmering with intense gold and vibrant coral, cast a soft light on his console. "You Aish, yes," Aris said, trying to concentrate on avoiding a chunk of ammonia ice. "Density is high. Might want to strap in." She did not move away. "Your thermal signature is different than before. Elevated. It is. Distinctive." A cold sweat that had nothing to do with the ship's climate control broke out on Aris's neck. A dreadful, hilarious, terrifying suspicion began to dawn in his mind. He recalled snippets of Vryn biology from a cursory xenobiology brief years ago. They were seasonal beings, their biological rhythms tied to stellar radiation cycles. The stimulating nebula, the fascinating reproductive patterns, the changed scent, the shifting colors, the altered behavior. "Kayla," he said, his voice carefully neutral. Are you experiencing a cyclical biological phase? She finally straightened. My species enters a period of heightened perceptivity and social bonding when under specific stellar spectra. This sector provides the requisite conditions. She said it as if discussing a mineralogical assay. Right. Heightened perceptivity. Social bonding. Aris swallowed. Does this period have a name? It is the time of blooming, she chimed, her mercury eyes fixed on him. The next 36 standard hours were the most professionally awkward of Eris Thorne's life. Kyla's heightened perceptivity manifested as an intense, laser-focused interest in him. Not in a violent or aggressive way, but in a manner that was utterly, profoundly disconcerting. She analyzed his speech patterns, commented on the efficiency of his circulatory system. Your dermal flush indicates excellent health, and brought him nutrient packs she had synthesized to optimize his olfactory output. She also began to sing. It was not a vocal song, but a soft, shimmering resonance from her filaments, a sound that vibrated in the bones and made concentration nearly impossible. The ship smelled perpetually like a petrichor jungle. Her filaments were a constant, gorgeous display of auroral colors. Aris, for his part, became a master of polite deflection and strategic retreat. He invented extravehicular maintenance checks. He buried himself in long-range comms diagnostics. He talked incessantly about Terran sports he did not even follow. The climax came on the bridge. They were analyzing a particularly beautiful pollen-like nebula drift. Kayla had been quiet for an hour, a state Aris had learned to distrust. Suddenly, she rose from her station and moved to the center of the small space. Aris, she chimed. This period facilitates deeper connection. It is a time for presenting the self. Before he could formulate a response, she began to move. It was not a dance as humans understood it. It was a series of flowing, graceful gestures, each sweep of her arms causing her filaments to erupt in complex, patterned light shows. Colors rippled along her limbs, syncopated with the resonant hum she emitted. It was breathtakingly beautiful, a bioluminescent ballet meant to showcase vitality and genetics. She was quite literally in full bloom. Aris stood frozen, a mechanic caught in the headlights of a sublime alien phenomenon. Every instinct screamed that this was a deeply personal, significant act. His mission-logic brain finally caught up. This was a courtship display, and he was the audience. The performance lasted several minutes, ending with Kayla standing perfectly still, her filaments slowly pulsing like a captured galaxy. The scent in the air was almost tangible. She looked at him, her mercury eyes wide and expectant. He had to respond. But a clumsy human gesture, a misinterpreted word, could cause a diplomatic incident or, worse, personal catastrophe. He thought of her expertise, her dedication, her incredible alien beauty. He thought of the profound loneliness of deep space, and he knew what he could not do. Slowly, with the utmost respect, he brought his hands together in the Terran gesture of applause. Not the loud, raucous kind, but a soft, steady, sincere clapping. He followed it with a deep, formal bow from the waist, the kind reserved for honored masters on Terra. Kyla of the Vryn, he said, his voice thick with genuine awe. That was the most incredible thing I have ever witnessed. Thank you for sharing this part of your culture with me. The honor is mine. He kept the bow, not meeting her eyes, granting her the space of his deference. He heard a soft chime, a different pitch. He risked a glance. The brilliant gold and coral in her filaments were softening, blending back into the calmer blue-green, though hints of silver remained. The intense, expectant tension in her posture eased. You perceive the intended significance, she chimed, her voice lighter again. I perceive its beauty and its importance, he said carefully, straightening. And I am humbled. But I am Terran. My My time of blooming is on a different schedule, a different spectrum. There was a long silence. Kala's head tilted, a bird-like gesture of analysis. Yes, your biology is not receptive to the stellar cues of this sector. A mismatch of cycles. She sounded more scientific now, the feverish edge gone from her voice. A practical dilemma. A profound one, Aris agreed, relief washing through him like coolant. Our partnership, however, remains. Your work is vital. She gave a slow, graceful nod. The botanical data from the ring system requires cataloging. My focus had drifted. Understood, Aris said, returning to his station, his knees weak. I'll prepare the classification matrix. The final week of the survey mission passed in a return to professional normalcy. The scent in the ship gradually faded. Kyla's filaments resumed their steady, calm shimmer. The incident was never directly referenced again, but a new layer existed between them. A shared, strange understanding got back on Orion's reach. They filed their reports. At the debriefing, their commander, a grizzled veteran named Rostov, scanned their findings. Excellent work, you two. Seamless integration. See? The pairing was a good call. As they left the office, walking down the stark corridor, Aris finally spoke. You know, a little warning about the stellar sensitivity might have been useful. Kayla looked at him, her mercury eyes unreadable. And deny you the experience of a Vryn blooming? Where would be the learning in that? Besides, a faint musical trill came from her vocoder the Vryn, of equivalent of a chuckle. Your response was culturally appropriate. And your olfactory output, while biologically incompatible, was not unpleasant. Aris shook his head, a slow smile spree.